going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is your NXT review for November 1st, 2022. We are on the way to deadline, and after tonight, I have no idea what we're doing. If you guys know, last week, the whole week kind of kicked me in the ass, so I had to shove all the NXT stuff into this week's episode of WWE last week, but I did do a... Coming out of Halloween Havoc, I did do a, hey, here's what I think is going to happen at NXT Deadline. But after tonight, we went on a few twists. We went on a few turns. It is what it is. And, yeah, I'm not predicting anything, pretty much. Hopefully you guys had a good Halloween. Mine was pretty low-key. Halloween being on a Monday absolutely sucks ass. I'm going to put it out to you guys. This is not wrestling related at all. I know there's a lot of debate about fireworks. I know something just passed in the UK. Some holiday just passed in the UK. I know we have July 4th in the States. We have Canada Day up here in Canada. Obviously, people in my neck of the woods are also celebrating Diwali over the past week or so. All with fireworks. Somebody please tell me, in the grand cosmos of the universe, of all the holidays, of all the celebrations, of all the significant dates of the year, how is Halloween not a fireworks holiday? Why can we not have Halloween fireworks? That's really, really, really nothing to do with tonight's show, but I just wanted to put that out there right off the bat. I know a lot of people bitch about fireworks because blah, 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 whatever, the whole world needs to revolve around me. But fireworks are awesome. Halloween is awesome. Why is Halloween not a fireworks holiday? That's what we're kicking off here. But I do hope you guys had a good Halloween. Halloween Raw wasn't actually that bad. There will not be an episode of WWE last week this coming Monday because, as you guys know, with a pay-per-view coming up on the weekend, we will cover a whole lot of stuff in the preview for Crown Jewel, which does look like a good card, even though you're not allowed to say that. Halloween Havoc was also a fun show. We've been over that. Again, check WWE last week for my full thoughts on Halloween Havoc and last week's episode of NXT. But this week, Bron Breakker came back and he came out and he said not only was it a great, Halloween Havoc was not only a great show for himself, but he gave some props out to Wes Lee, he gave props out to the Creed brothers, and then he's cut off by Pretty Deadly. And I can't stand Pretty Deadly. I stuck up for Booker T last week when he gets a lot of shit for giving Quincy Elliott a hard time on commentary, but I pointed out that if it's for the reasons that people want you to think it is, then he would hate Pretty Deadly as well, and he doesn't. He puts over Pretty Deadly on commentary, as he should, as he's like sort of like pseudo-heel commentator, I guess, with Vic Joseph being the default babyface. I'm the opposite. I think Quincy Elliott's a lot of fun. I don't know whether he's more than lots of fun, but he's a lot of fun. I like him, and I can't stand Pretty Deadly. And don't give me the whole, oh, well, they're heels, that means they're doing their job. No, there's a huge difference. For the AEW fans out there, I'm going to give you an AEW example. This is not the go-away heat that MJF has. This is, you're just a bit shit. Please get off my TV. They're upset that he gets to start off the show and they don't, and they're not getting the respect that they deserve, and their title retention at Halloween Havoc was better than Bron Breakker's, and it was better than Wes Lee's big crowning moment in the ladder match, which obviously brings out Wes Lee. You've got the NXT championship, you got NXT champion shoulder to shoulder with the NXT North American champion, and they mock the hair and they do a mock entrance for them and whatever. And it's like, hey, you know, typically when we do these opening segments on a WWE show, you know, somebody comes out and then somebody else interrupts them, but we're already here, so we can interrupt you. Why don't you defend those tag team titles tonight? And it gets confirmed later on. I don't care. I know all the arguments for everything. Every person on Twitter who cannot possibly say anything nice about WWE, the Michael Sidgwicks and the JD from New Yorks of the world, won't actually. Oh, JD from New York is having his own issues. Is he not? Look it up on No DQ. It's fucking hilarious. I'm not a huge fan of Jade Cargill, but Jade Cargill put that boy in his fucking place, along with Britt Baker, along with Rebel. Like, the guy's getting slated by the entire AEW women's roster, and the AEW women's roster barely exists. JD, fuck yourself, buddy. Moving swiftly on. But all the people, all of those types of people are absolutely going to point out, oh my god, this is just a thrown together tag team and da-na-na-na-na, and what did they do to qualify? They're holding the 2 higher titles in the company. That's what they did. And Wesley was brought in as a tag team wrestler. He's a former tag team champion on this brand before his partner got fucked. Oh yes. And I mean, there's a little bit of tag team dynasty in history in the Braun Breaker family, just a little bit. And when the guys from Pretty Deadly say, oh, it can't possibly get any worse, out comes R-Truth. And R-Truth is facing Grayson Waller because of the stuff that happened last week when he came out on NXT to welcome us to Halloween Havoc, which was, you know, it's R-Truth. It is what it is. We know what this match is, and Waller doing some mock Cena stuff in the match because of how R-Truth does the mock Cena stuff as part of his babyface shtick was really good. All comes to a screeching halt when Truth takes a nasty looking dive to the outside and they cut quickly to commercial break. The match is tossed out after the commercial break and Waller just sort of awkwardly promos in the ring while Truth is being taken out. Now, I'm going to go on the side of caution here because it did look like a nasty fall. And R-Truth, for the fact that he's finally getting some time on TV to not do 24/7 stuff, if it is an actual injury, that fucking sucks. That really, really does. Because the dude was bopping. Like, the guy's like 50-something, isn't he? The guy's like insane. The fact that they've trapped him in the 24/7 shit for so long is actually insane. But he takes this scary bump to the outside. Match gets tossed. Waller starts a bragging promo, talks about how, you know, oh, that was swift. I just kicked off somebody. I can beat anybody from any roster. NXT, Raw, SmackDown. The crowd starts chanting, you got lucky, to which he responds, I get lucky every night. Now, obvious sex reference is obvious, but if you want to be a nitpicky wrestling fan, it's like, okay, so is every wrestling match you've ever won a fluke? I know that's not what they're implying. I'm not an idiot. But you could very easily turn that back on him, but it was a pretty nice line to sort of shut up the crowd. And then he really sort of does stop his promo and leave, which makes me think that this is legit. And if that's true, that's fucking terrible. If it's true, if it's a work, it's a good one. If it's not, then, you know, thoughts and well wishes to R-Truth, and that's really all you can say. We have a sit down with the Schism and Ava Raine, and I will say, the Schism is what it is. Joe Gacy is what he is. The artists formerly known as the Grizzled Young Veterans are what they are. Ava Raine is front and center. Basically, They waffle on about a lot of things, but basically the heart and soul of this is when she says, I've been hanging around in the WWE my whole damn life. Nobody got to know me until the Schism. When I was training in the Performance Center, only the new guy, was the one that actually reached out to say, you know, hey, what's up, how you doing, etc., etc., etc. Vic Joseph then randomly inserts a tweet that Cameron Grimes had sent out. Apparently, I don't follow Cameron Grimes on Twitter, because why? And it says, sad to see that the Schism have seemingly brainwashed another superstar. And then she revolts to that and whatever. Now, in a better story, this would... Now, I like the Schism. I like the Schism because of how much it winds everybody up. It's like the JBL Baron Corbin pairing on Raw. I'm not going to say it's Shakespeare, because it's definitely not. But in a better story, what she said in this promo would actually make sense. Because in the wrestling world, obviously they're going to play off the fact that she's The Rock's kid without actually saying she's The Rock's kid. But in the wrestling world, you know, Simone Johnson, the real wrestler behind Ava Raine, would go through her entire life being known as The Rock's kid, which is what everybody's doing. Follow Twitter, follow podcasting, etc. Hey, Rock's kid, hey, Rock's kid, hey, Rock's kid. The first person that comes up to her and says, hey, Simone, is going to get that character's attention. And that's a really good story. Now, do I trust them to follow that story through? Absolutely not. But it is the absolute bare bones thread of a thing that you could believe is actually believable, which is why you have to say it wasn't completely useless, but it was about 98% useless. I mean, they're doing what they're doing. putting her on NXT in this group is going to put focus on it for a couple of weeks. NXT as a whole is going to get focused just when the headline reads NXT has The Rock's daughter. Then it'll turn to a controversial headline where everybody says, oh my god, I can't believe they put her in this problematic group, blah, 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 blah. It's functional. I don't know how entertaining it's going to be. And here's the thing, I'm not ready to shit on it either because we don't know how she is. I don't know if she's been practicing on house shows. I haven't watched a single episode of NXT Level Up. I'm not gonna lie. I watched SmackDown when I'm doing my shit for NXT last week, but most of the time, no. Like, here's the deal. I would rather watch Rampage and laugh at AEW than watch the developmental show of the developmental show. Hope that makes sense. I don't know if she's done house shows. I don't know if she's been on Level Up. I don't know what she can do. I'm not going to pretend that I know what she can do. Her promo was okay in amongst all the typical schism verbiage, shall we say. Sometime in the night, they had another anonymous call to the Performance Center from Scripts. It's as silly as everybody's saying it is. I'm not going to waste much time on it. In the back, we see Zoe Stark and Nikita Lyons frustrated because they won but didn't really win the tag team titles last week. And then you got Indy Hartwell, who's got frustrations in her own way, saying basically, what do you have to bitch about? At least you're getting title opportunities. And Zoe Stark looks at her and says, yeah, maybe you'd get title shots if you were good, more or less. They do make reference to the fact that they do have a title rematch next week, which is good. I think they're going to get it at that point, which is fine. This goes on to... This served two purposes, really. We're going to get Indy versus Zoe tonight, and Zoe and Nikita Lyons have a rematch for the titles next week. I don't mind that. The match last week was pretty damn good. Even the funky finish was good, because the false finish made me realize how much I was actually pretty jazzed for them to be the new champions, and then the fuck finish meant we get this match again. So, again, not 100% great, but like 98% great with the knowledge that I'm going to get more. It's alright. Ah, man. Thea Hale versus Kiana James. Now, Kiana James is the businesswoman. And that's about it. She sent her assistant later on to pass on an envelope to Fallon Henley, and we'll talk about that in a second. But Thea Hale versus Kiana James, the story here is really the story behind the scenes, because you see Thea Hale in the back with Mr. Chase, and she's really sad, and she's sitting there with the Chase U flag, and there's nobody there to fly it. Now, if you're just watching TV and don't do anything else, then you wouldn't really get it. Oh, Bodie Hayward disappeared. That's kind of weird. Maybe it ties into the Duke Hudson story, etc., etc., etc. Unfortunately, it did come out late this afternoon that there have been 5 releases from the NXT roster, and I'm going to sound like an asshole, but Bodie Hayward is the only name out of the 5 of them that I recognize. Now, that's not a dig at any of them. Apparently, a couple of them were on Level Up. Apparently, a couple of them were only used as enhancement talent. But Bodie Hayward was fun. He was a fun component of the Chase U thing. Would have loved to see what that became eventually. I'm sure they were going to build towards a Bodie Hayward Duke Hudson thing for the attention of their teacher, which would have been weird, but it would have made Chase U sense. Thea Hale, starting off in this match, was, bummed from her buddy being gone, and Booker T on commentary probably wasn't the greatest thing in the world to say, oh yeah, that other kid must have lost his scholarship. Not great there, not gonna lie. But she comes into this with a lot of energy, and Kiana James comes in with sort of like boss bitch energy. And this whole thing, and I mean this in a positive way, nobody in their right mind is going to take what I'm going to say in a positive way, but this had a really cool, bitchy, scrappy cat fight energy to it. The one thing that oh man, this is going to get me in trouble. This is going to get me a lot of shit, isn't it? The one thing that we lost in the women's revolution when we got in proper indie wrestlers, proper, bell-to-bell, good, great wrestlers, is they shied so far away from the other side that we never got it again. And done well, you have to go on later on to show that they can do that as well. But a good old cat fight is really good sometimes. Now, between the two of them, I don't have much investment in either of them. The Kiana James thing, the whole I'm a businesswoman and I squeezed a wrestling match into my schedule because it's one of my many jobs. It's not for me. It's not going to resonate with me whatsoever. Thea Hale being part of the Chase U thing is cool, but Thea Hale on her own hasn't really been much because she has been in that gimmick. The story on the outside is Duke Hudson trying to, you know, impress Mr. Chase. He tries to cheat, he tries to help Thea Hale, and he gets told off by Mr. Chase, who boots him out because we have a code of conduct at Chase U and we don't do those types of things. Kiana James hits her with a tornado flatliner thing. She did it twice in the match, and both times I looked at it and I'm like, that looks like a really cool move that she's not quite hitting perfectly. So, for her well-being and for her, like, future, like, am I going to care when I see her on my TV next? Whatever that move is, I want to see her hit it crisply and not look like it's missing, because it does look like it looks like a cross between a sling blade and a mic check. I think because she's a businesswoman, I think they called it the 401k, but I don't really care. Charlie Dempsey, if I knew who that was, attacks Mr. Chase, and Duke Hudson comes back from the back and saves him. And later on in the night, it's announced that Mr. Chase is going to take on Charlie Dempsey next week. In the back, Briggs, Jensen, and Fallon Henley say that they are keeping an eye on the main event tonight. They really hope Braun and Wes get the win and shut up Pretty Deadly, but if they don't, then Pretty Deadly can't avoid them for very much longer. Then Fallon Henley gets a package or an envelope or whatever it is from Kiana James, so maybe she's recruiting her for the business and they're gonna go do a business. Next up, Javier Barnell, and with the unfortunate nickname of Big Body Javi, taking on the returning Odyssey Jones, who came last week to take Malik Blade and Idris Enofe away in his truck full of women. Yep, that was a thing that happened. So Javier Barnell is outside of Shawn Michaels' office, and he's been called to Shawn Michaels' office to find out who his opponent is tonight, and he starts shit-talking Malik Blade and Idris Enofe, and then Odyssey Jones comes out and says, hey, I'm your opponent tonight. Obvious David and Goliath story here between Javier, who's not that big, and Odyssey Jones, who's big. Javier tries to work the leg for a little bit. I think he even hit him with a bunch of what do they call them, like the leg DDTs there, but Odyssey does come back from that after giving him a little bit of offense. He had a flurry here and there, but he is the returning guy from injury, and this is wrestling, so he hits this huge swinging side slam thing for the win. Here's what I'm going to say, and it's probably obvious. I know they're both baby faces, so I don't know how you would do it. I mean, even though Theory and Rollins showed us on Raw that you can definitely do a heel versus heel match, so there's no reason you can't do a babyface versus babyface match. Odyssey Jones versus Quincy Elliott is a match I want to see now. Just a whole new take on the big meaty men slapping meat, or whatever the quote is from Biggie. Biggie's going to represent WWE at some NASCAR thing over the weekend while everybody else is in Saudi. Actually, friggin' dirt sheet stuff saying stuff in Saudi is getting worse and it might impact the show and the show might not happen, but I don't have much other than ifs and buts and maybes, so it would be irresponsible for me to talk about that, especially here when this is an NXT show. Mr. Stone finds Braun Breaker in the back while he's getting ready for his tag team match later, and he says, you know, I know you're a great champion, and I know you'll fight anybody on the roster except my monster, Von Wagner. And then Braun looks at him like he's lunch and says, you've got about 5 seconds. So yeah, Von Wagner versus Braun Breaker is something we might see. Yay. Mandy Rose comes out for the 1-year celebration. JC and Gigi talk her up to no end, including a video package that was put together very nicely. Now, I do think it's kind of cool here. And this is where, once again, people are not going to give... I'm not saying Mandy Rose is a top 5 wrestler by any stretch of the imagination, but she's also not terrible. She's also not, you know, Lana or whatever other people you want to be mean to. I do think she's underrated. in the sense of, I coined this phrase a long time ago in talking about the Bellas, and where people called them, as far as like in-ring actual like wrestling ability, people would always call them ones because they weren't tens. And Mandy Rose is very much fallen into the same category. And I love that this segment, that this promo, while she maintained her heel thing, her heel, you know, aura, character, whatever you want to call it, they did call all of that out. The video package had her on the main roster, had the stuff with her and Otis, had her coming back to NXT, recruiting JC and Gigi, and forming Toxic Attraction and becoming the champion, and, you know, basically holding it on to a year now, actually. And then they make a correction on the 365 to actually say 371. So I guess she was technically 1 year last week. But her promo was really cool. Like, her promo was still a heel promo, but it was true. You know, everybody accused me of just being eye candy, just being a Barbie doll, just coming out of a bleach bottle, just, you know, I was formulated in the WWE factory and I was eye candy and that was all I was ever going to be. And then I came back to NXT, recreated myself, fought literally everybody on this roster, and still held on to my championship. Now, the fact that she's held on to her championship is a written thing by the writers and they make that decision. But the fact that she did, like, she fought Blair Davenport, she fought Mako Satomura, she fought Kaylee Ray, Alba Fire not too long ago. She's tied it up with women from the main roster and held her own, and I've said it for a million years. When they were on their first run in NXT back in the day at a house show, I saw her go 20 minutes with Sonya Deville in a way that I've never seen either one of them on television. It is a thing. The ring fills with smoke. I think it was done badly because it came all out of one side and there was no fire. But Alba Fire comes in, cuts off the promo, sort of smacks them around a bit. JC and Mandy get out of the ring. She catches Gigi Dolan and gives her the gory bomb through a table, because there's a table with all the flowers and all the champagne and all that. Gives her the gory bomb through the table, grabs a microphone and says, this week I took out Gigi, next week I'm going to take out JC, and in 2 weeks I'm going to take that title. So apparently she has a title shot in 2 weeks. I predicted that the next major thing was going to be Mandy Rose taking on Roxanne Perez at Deadline. I still predict that that is going to be the thing. In the back, we're talking to Apollo Crews, and he never, like, after his comments last week about, oh, Braun Breaker's coming back next week, won't that be interesting? They asked him, like, why weren't you out there? Oh, well, you know, Pretty Deadly got out there first, so I guess tonight's their night, and, you know, whatever. And then he goes on and he says, this brand needs Braun Breaker versus Apollo Crews. I'm like, no, it doesn't. I mean, it'll be a good match, but it's not a match. I said it last week. This is a match that I would like to see. This is a match that they could definitely put on Deadline, but this is a match that you put on Deadline if something else is main eventing. The match will be great, don't get me wrong, but this Braun Breaker versus Apollo Crews will not change NXT. And then Von Wagner steps up to him and says he's the future of that title. Because Apollo Crews had the whole see the future thing, which is fine. I think they're slowly trying to leave that behind, and now whoever stands in front of him is going to remind him of how shitty that thing was. Indy Hartwell versus Zoe Stark was a solid match. It was a very cool dynamic, because I think even though she's in sort of like a pissy, more aggressive mood these days, I think Indy Hartwell's still technically a babyface, and I think Starks and Nikita Lyons are babyfaces as well, but they've both got their respective frustrations, so they both come into this match really, really pissed off. The story of the match, though, is Stark starts losing her temper, almost gets herself disqualified with a mud hole stomp in the corner. Lyons on the outside shouting at her, trying to calm her down. It kind of works. Starks takes her to the outside, you know, smacking her head off the commentator's table and all this type of thing. Lyons is out there not getting involved, but just saying, hey, you know, you got to win the match. You got to win the match in the ring. It is what it is. Calms her down once again, but by the time she rolls back into the ring, she eats a boot from Indy and then some other move that I can't really describe, and gets the win and gets further pissed off. Now, when they're walking to the back, Katana Chance and Caden Carter are back there. It's like, well, you're going to have to do better than that when you face us next week. And Zoe Stark's just coming off the match that she's had. She's like, okay, let's go. And then Nikita Lyons is like, nope, next week. And it's fine. I like Katana Chance and Caden Carter, but I do think they're slowly turning them heel, or at least into assholes, which I don't mind either, because they are, along with, if Toxic Attraction is going up, Mandy Rose is going to drop that title in December. That's my prediction. She's going to drop that title to Roxanne Perez, unless somebody tells me otherwise. I do think Toxic Attraction go up as a group. And if that's the case, then you've got a tag team division of 2 teams, and these are the 2 teams. So if they get snappy as hell with each other, all the better. We get a weird promo about Dijak coming back. It sort of flashes images of the NXT Championship, flashes images of him burning the mask. He talks about how he's going to bring justice to NXT because he's got all kinds of unfinished business, and I'm gonna, you know, once you take off the mask, you can be your real self. There's a lot of that these days, you know. Uncle Howdy's got a mask, and then the Jism had masks last week, and Dijak's getting rid of his mask. I really do hope they call him Dijak, because Dijakovic is just a mouthful, and it's annoying. Cora Jade, fresh off of her, power outage, I think. That's not cool. That's not cool in the slightest. Okay, so doing this all by cell phone light now, because apparently part of my power has gone out. But, yeah, Cora Jade, Valentina Perez is pretty much... Valentina Perez is there to play... I'm not saying she is a jobber, but she's there to play jobber to Cora Jade. She's got no Sangha, because Sangha won't come to ringside with her anymore, because Veer has told him not to do that anymore, because they're going to take your kindness as weakness. There's an early flurry by Perez that actually looks really good. She's mostly owned by Cora Jade, who gets the win, and when she tries for a post-match beatdown, the save is made by Wendy Chu, who does come down in the old, like, pajama gimmick, but also tries to beat the shit out of her with her own kendo stick, which is not great. Tony D in the back with Stax sets up a match between Stax and Hank Walker next week, and then they're interrupted by Elektra Lopez, who's back on the roster, and she says, oh, now that I'm back, now that I'm here by myself to prove something, I'm going to be scarier than ever, or whatever the hell she says. And then Stax just says, oh yeah, she thinks she's real scary, eh? And Tony D just kind of gives her the side eye and the glance and just says, yeah, I kind of believe it. Braun Breaker and Wes Lee taking on Pretty Deadly for the NXT Tag Team Championships. This was an awesome, cool match. It showed whatever Pretty Deadly can do, but it was like Braun Breaker, who's the power guy, doing the high flyer stuff. Wes Lee, who's the high flyer stuff, doing the technical stuff. Great match all the way along. They're about to get the win when out of nowhere, Carmelo Hayes tosses Wes Lee off the top rope. Obviously pissed off that he doesn't. There we go. The power just came back on. Isn't that awesome? Let me shuffle myself around just a bit here, and we will keep going as if nothing happened, because the camera kept running and my recording kept going, but the power went out. So this is going to be a very, very strange review. Yeah. So lost my train of thought there. Mello tosses Lee off the top rope, and the champs retain, and that's really shit, because I was really hoping that I was going to be able to put up a graphic of these guys holding up 2 belts each. I mean, here's the thing. If FTR can carry 3 belts, if Kenny Omega can fake holding 4, if Pac can be the Trios champion and the All-Atlantic champion, then these guys can be North American champ and tag champ and NXT champ and tag champ, respectively. Not that bad. So I was really hoping to say, like, oh, you know, Wes Lee and Braun Breaker's Gold Rush on NXT or something along those lines. Mello tosses Lee off the edge. Champs retain. Wes Lee dives out of the ring onto him right up the rampway, and they brawl to the back, which is fine. That's an interesting way to end the show. They just got robbed. He's going to go chase him off. But that's not all. Braun Breaker's in the ring. He's pissed off. He's trying to figure out what happened. He eats a boot from Von Wagner. And then we go from live in the arena to in the back, where somebody's watching the boot happen on TV, and it's Apollo Crews. And Apollo Crews has his eye on Braun Breaker, and then he's approached by JD McDonough, and he says, it's going to be really hard for you to see your future when I detach your retinas. And that's how we go off. That's a lot in the last 5 minutes of the show. A lot. Now, I predicted that we were going to get Wes Lee versus Grayson Waller at Deadline. If you want to throw Carmelo Hayes in the mix of that, that's going to be the main event. That main event, that triple threat match, for the North American Championship can main event if you're going to make Braun Breaker versus Apollo Crews the world title match. I don't know what you do with the tag team championships. Put them on Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs. I really don't care at this point. Mandy Rose is going to face Roxanne Perez. I think that's going to happen. I don't really know. But, hey, this was a review that was recorded during a brief power outage, so you never know what you're going to get on this show. Anyways, that was NXT. Hang out later on this week. You're going to see a preview for Crown Jewel. I'm working on a pod about all the changes to the WWE pay-per-view schedule going forward, because I've got a lot of different thoughts to say about all the little news and rumors about that stuff, so look for that either this week or next week, depending on how my recording schedule goes. And that's about it. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, tagging out. Bye, guys.